Detroit, once an auto city. Here you can learn a lot about the North American Free Trade Agreement. Bob Bowen worked in the car industry his whole life for Ford. And he also suffered from the effects of NAFTA. Every few weeks or so, Bob shows his grandson Billy how he's getting on with his retirement project, a Ford Thunderbird from 1957 in its original colors. It's a real eye-catcher.
Okay.
He and his former co-worker Greg are going to show us what's left of the automaking industry in Ypsilanti, close to Detroit. Since the NAFTA agreement was signed over 20 years ago, their town has lost half of its auto industry jobs. The Detroit region has bled hundreds of thousands in total. It's part of America's old industrial heartland, the Rust Belt. Behind the fence, there's not much left of the company that once supplied Ford and General Motors with parts.
Back in here, guys. Yeah. When I first started working in this town, there used to be a factory over here. They couldn't lower the unit cost enough, Greg, to stay in, so they would start moving to the south. And then even in the south, the wages were too high. After NAFTA, they started moving it south of the border. Then my understanding is it got so that the people in Mexico couldn't even compete. They sent it everywhere.
So that was the advantage of NAFTA, the lower wages pretty much, huh?
Yeah, that's what it was. I went out behind the building with them.
At some point, Bob Bowen decided he had to take action. He swapped the conveyor belt for the Works Council. But of course, he couldn't stop the decline of Ypsilanti.
It's just going to snowball.
His grandson does still have a job in the auto supply industry. He earns $18 an hour. His wages haven't gone up for years. He's concerned about the stagnation of pay levels in the U.S. blue-collar sector.
See the sign, guys?
What I make now is what he made in the 1970s. And it's hard to do that now with inflation and the cost of living we have, increase in taxes. Our union dues went up this year. It's harder to do.
It was visible to see what was going on.
One result of NAFTA, the relocation of work from here to Mexico.
I really thought in my heart that NAFTA would help us, but I didn't realize that there was no labor protections and there was really no way of making sure things were fair. The whole advantage of corporations moving there was just based upon screwing the worker.
And the people that have control, unfortunately, they're very greedy. Money rules their decisions, and the people like us, the working people, are collateral damage.
NAFTA and its repercussions have been widely studied by the likes of Lori Wallach in Washington. The trade expert has become a vociferous critic of the planned TTIP agreement between the U.S. and Europe.
So we've had 20 years of living with NAFTA, and the thing I would say to our friends in Europe is, don't try it. We've seen in 20 years of NAFTA basically everything that the critics predicted, but much worse.
We travel on to Mexico. The jobs that disappeared in Detroit and elsewhere came here to Juarez, just across the U.S. border, where hundreds of factories have sprung up out of the ground. This is where basic components are manufactured for U.S. industry and sent back over the border. It's cheaper for the companies involved and provides work in Mexico. Nicolas Rojas is employed in the auto supply industry here, but he can't work at the moment because of a workplace accident. When the cotton growing industry collapsed in his home village, he came here. Now he's one of the hundreds of thousands of low-paid workers in the city. Since NAFTA came into force, Juarez has grown at an explosive rate. Crime rates have also spiraled. Juarez was once the most violent place on earth, but murder rates are no longer as high as they were. Rojas shows us the factories, the maquilas. We drive past. It's not wise to stop here. The drug cartels have their tentacles everywhere.
Behind me, they make airbags for various companies, just like I do. For Harley-Davidson, Chrysler, as well as Honda, and many other foreign companies. This is where I work.
It's not clear who is really behind some of the factories, but they all pay low wages.
In this maquila, I earn 97 pesos as a foreman. That's about €6 a day.
Some factories pay even less. Nicolas has to work 3 days to earn what a US worker earns in an hour. Pay levels are not sufficient in either country.
We have work, yes, but the pay isn't enough. It's pitiful.
Nicolas is divorced and he lives with his mother. His wife left him and took their children with her. His injured shoulder and the split-up have hit him hard. He says that the NAFTA free trade agreement hasn't brought him happiness, and that feeling is shared by hundreds of thousands of other people in northern Mexico. Sure, it's work, but under what conditions?
It's really not easy. It hasn't had any benefits for us. The government told us it would be good, but we're paying a high price. The poor working conditions are destroying our lives. We have the highest divorce rate here at the border.
The fact is that U.S. firms have relocated hundreds of thousands of jobs to Mexico. And Mexico's low-wage economy has also put pay levels in the United States under considerable pressure. Free trade increases competition between workers as well as companies.